In the hard light of a November morning, the desert looked empty enough to swallow a man without leaving a ripple. Kenny Veach locked his truck, shouldered his pack, and stepped into the sheep range north of Las Vegas. The air was thin and dry. Every footfall snapped on stones that had baked for 100 summers. He was chasing a memory that had haunted him for months, a cave that, he said, made his body vibrate the closer he got. He hadn't marked it on a map. He trusted his sense of the land, he always did. He had told the story online. He was an experienced solo hiker who filmed his wanderings for a small YouTube channel under the name Snake Bitemgi. In a comment that caught fire, he described finding a cave shaped like an M somewhere in the wilderness near the boundary of the Nellis Range. He said an invisible pressure rolled out of that opening. His chest buzzed. Fear rose fast and cold. He turned around and left. Skeptics challenged him. Believers begged him to go back. The argument followed him wherever he looked. In October 2014, he tried again, camera rolling. The video he posted, titled M Cave Hike, shows a man moving through open country that looks endless. Brittle grass, broken ridges, a sky that seems to have no seam. He talks to the lens as he scrambles over boulders and edges along washes. He never finds the cave. He ends the day sunburned and smiling, promising to return when the weather cools and he has more time to search. That promise carried him into the mountains on November 10th, 2014. He told his family it would be a short trip, one night out and back. He had walked this ground for years and treated long miles like a meditation. He parked at a familiar pullout and took the trail of his own past footprints into the Sheep Mountains. Somewhere beyond the next ridge, he believed, was the mouth that had scared him so badly the first time. He meant to look it in the face. When he didn't return, his girlfriend reported him missing. Clark County's search and rescue team and local volunteers fanned across the canyons. The terrain punished them with loose scree and blind drops, the kind of dry, hostile country that blunts sound and hides sign. They checked arroyos and old mining cuts, places where a misstep vanishes with the wind. Helicopters swept the slopes. Teams traced lines on maps and then traced those lines with their boots. 12 days after he left, volunteers found his cell phone near the rim of an abandoned vertical mine shaft high in a canyon. It was the first hard clue and, for many, the most chilling. No blood, no tracks they could follow, just a phone on the rock and silence in every direction. The shaft fell straight into darkness. Crews peered over the lip with lights and cameras and saw nothing. No body, no pack, no clothing. If he had fallen, the mine did not keep him. The dates were fixed now. Last contact on November 10th, the phone recovered on November 22nd. Theories multiplied as quickly as the search area. Some said he got turned around between near-identical drainages and walked himself into exposure. Others said he slipped into one of the many cracks and holes that line the old diggings, the kind you don't see until your weight is on them. A few suggested he staged his own disappearance. The loudest voices circled the cave itself, whatever it was, and the proximity of restricted land. They pointed to that strange detail in his tail, the vibrating pressure, and argued over what could cause it. Minerals, wind, something man-made, something else entirely. The talk grew louder than the evidence, which remained the same. One phone, one truck, no Kenny. Context made the loss feel sharper. He knew these hills. He took pride in moving light, trusting judgment over gear. Friends called him restless but disciplined, the kind of person who respected the heat and the distances. His videos show him pausing to catch his breath and grin into the wind. Nothing in them looks like a man courting oblivion. There is only the pull of open country and the confidence that he could cross it and be home by tomorrow night. Searchers kept coming back as weather allowed. The sheep range can look flat from the highway, but inside the ridges it's a labyrinth. Drainages split and rejoin. Game trails promise shortcuts that dead end in cliffs. 100 yards off course might as well be a mile when every slope is a mirror of the last. They measured distance by the ache in their legs and the water left in their bottles. They climbed to high points and called his name into wind that tore their voices away. Some carried ropes to check vertical drops and narrow slots. They checked the same places twice because that is how you beat the desert. Slowly, stubbornly, without assuming you've seen it all. Online, the story grew larger than the man. The M cave became a riddle, a magnet for late-night certainty. People drew circles on satellite images and claimed shadowed cuts were the opening. Others hiked out to film their own searches, posting hours of rock and brush to prove where the cave was, or wasn't. Some pointed out that caves can shift and crumble, that what you see once in failing light might never look the same again. None of it put anyone closer to Kenny. The facts that remain are the ones recorded in the days after he vanished. He left on November 10th, 2014. His phone was found on November 22nd near a deep mine shaft in the Sheep Mountains north of Las Vegas. Authorities and volunteers checked the shaft and the surrounding cuts and canyons and found no trace of him. The desert held its line. With time, the official work slowed, but hikers and locals kept a quiet vigil. Every so often, a new party would step into the glare, climb out of a wash, and look again where the map turns into bare rock. His case is still listed in missing person databases. Families who know that ache understand what that means. Holidays measured by empty chairs, birthdays noticed in quiet. For those who loved him, the place where he vanished can never be only a map square. It is a loop of ground they walk in their heads, where the truck sat, where the canyon turned, where the phone lay on the rock in the open air. They test each theory against that terrain, and each time the land answers with the same hard silence. What lingers is not a myth about a cave, but the image of a man walking into country he loved, curious and unafraid to chase a strange story. He followed a thread most people would have let go, convinced he could find the place that had spooked him and measure it with his own hands. Maybe he missed a turn. Maybe the ground gave way. Maybe the sun and wind did what they always do to the unprepared and the unlucky. Whatever happened, the silence that followed has a weight you can feel. If you hike there today, the land gives you the same sound he heard. Wind in the brush, gravel shifting under your shoes, the low hum of your own breathing. There are mine cuts that drop like elevator shafts and washes that look like roads until they end at a wall. A cairn might mark a turn, or it might mark nothing at all. You think of the phone on the rock and the way a trail can erase itself between morning and noon. You think of a man who kept promises to himself, who went back because he said he would, who believed he could outwalk the unknown. The search never truly stopped for the people who knew him. They keep the dates close: October for the filmed attempt, November 10th for the final hike, November 22nd for the phone. They return to the ranges with a careful step and a habit of looking into shadows. They are not chasing stories about secret bases or strange forces. They are looking for a friend. Thank you for listening to The Lantern's Tale. Subscribe for more true stories, if you dare.